is. It's Bassmaster Elite Series time on Lake Fork. Can anybody beat Patrick Walters on this old pond? We'll see. Cheers, y'all. Welcome back to Thursday night live stream. A late edition tonight. Let's go. That's pretty good. Hey, for the record, this is tea. Not the usual kind of, it's still brown water, it's just not the usual kind of brown water. Someday I might explain to y'all why that is. It's kind of ridiculous. But anyways, we're still going to have a good time and cut up tonight. It's going to be a lot of fun. I greatly apologize for falling behind on some of the content volume that's come out lately. We should be able to get back on track with that this next week. There's been a lot going on off the water in your boy's life, and it could have happened at a worse time as far as the Elite Series starting today. Today was a huge headache day for me in my personal life. Hopefully we got things kind of behind us and rolling in the right direction after today. Got a lot done today, so that's kind of all I can say. Anyways, it's an awesome day, man. What a freaking start to the like 35 bags over 20 pounds. And I'll be honest with you, the 35 bags over 20 pounds is about what I was actually talking to Mercer earlier today, and the 35 pounds over 20 bags, I actually guessed it to be 30, maybe a little more. So I was, right in the ballpark of that. I got that part right. I was really surprised, though, that nobody went higher than what they did as far as the total weight. And I'm sure we will see somebody bust a bigger bag than 32 pounds, or basically 33 pounds of what Walters had today. We'll see a bigger bag than that throughout the event. But, I mean, if you're a little disappointed in 35 pounds, 35 bags over 20 pounds, that's only at Lake Fork that you do that. So it was an awesome start. And we talked about it in the preview video. In the preview video, we talked about there would be a few patterns. There would be sight fishing, which is obviously very prevalent. There would be the shallow staging point fish. And there would be potentially some live scoping in a little bit more deeper stuff, timber or something. Here's what didn't happen. That nobody was live scoping out deep. And I kept hearing them say offshore. Man, what Patrick Walters was fishing today, and what Lee Livesey was fishing today, and what Brandon Cobb was fishing today, it was off the bank, but it was not deep water. Like, a lot of those areas were anywhere from 2 or 3 down to 5 or 6 foot deep, and really they weren't really much deeper than that, best I could tell from knowing the areas like I do. So somehow, though, Patrick Walters has got that live scope figured out even in that shallower water where he's seen them pretty good, obviously. He's just the best in the world on a tournament situation with live scoping. Josh Jones is obviously great at live scoping. I don't think anybody would take anything away from him there. As far as on a major tournament stage, Josh Jones just hasn't done that. He hasn't even attempted to do that. He probably could, honestly, as good as he is. But right now, as far as tournament fishermen go, Patrick Walters is has to be hands down considered the best forward-facing sonar cat out there. And he's got it dialed in even on those shallow points where he's using that live scope. And that dude is crazy good, man. We talk about him a lot on this channel, and he's one of our favorites, and I think he's really going to be one of the best we've ever seen before it's all said and done. He's got the makeup for it. He's got the commitment. He's got the mental aspects in spades. He's obviously a very diverse fisherman because he does. I don't think he's had a bad finish this year. The Sabine River, I think, is his worst tournament this year, and he's still got a check. He just hadn't had a bad event. And he really doesn't hardly ever have bad events. He's just very good everywhere and very diverse. So, hey, before we get further into this tonight, do me a favor, man, as you guys join us. There's already a ton of you guys in here. Really appreciate y'all joining us tonight. Do me a favor. Go ahead and drop me a comment. Let me know who I'm talking to. If you enjoy these live streams we do here on Your Lake Fork Guide, be sure you hit that thumbs up for me. And, oh, yeah, because you guys are so much smarter than me, I don't really know how to do it, but some of y'all do. And if you do, I sure would appreciate it if you could share this, get as many folks in here talking fishing with us tonight, because we're going to break it down. We're going to break down what went down at the showdown in the Fork Town. I think Mercer might even be proud of that one. That was pretty good. Let's say a few hellos to some of the folks in the building tonight. We got Dusty Smith, Chris Day, Seabach, Steve Chastain, Cody Mays, John Spielman, Super Dave. What's up, Super Dave? Mel Moore, Dusty Newton, Zach Watt, Z-Dub, Texas Air Gunner, Jeff Bonner, Gary Payne, J-Bo's in the house, John Sherrod, Blaine White, Ray Lowe. What's up, Ray Lowe? I always see you doing that same comment with them emojis and cheers mugs. I like it. Colton Deloach, John Dendy. That is about the comments that I have so far. I know a lot of your comments are just now getting in. Yeah, they're rolling in crazy fast now. Lots of comments. So I'm sure I'm missing some of y'all. Barrett Benefield just popped in. Anthony Davis. If I missed you and I didn't say hello, man, I apologize. But thank you guys sincerely for joining us tonight. So let's just start with Patrick Walters. What he was able to do today. And if you watched it, hopefully y'all got to watch a lot of the live coverage like I did. Cheers, y'all. It's Thursday night. Let's talk about fishing in Lake Fork. Hopefully you got to watch the live coverage. I got to watch a good bit this morning. And you heard, if you did, you heard Patrick Walters kept saying, he's like, man, I'm supposed to be kind of going sight fishing. Like, I'm supposed to be kind of going sight fishing, but he was seeing more fish out on those shallow shellbed point type areas than he had seen in all the practice. And he was, you know, obviously looking at those fish in practice on active target or live scope. He's using live scope. Looking at those areas on live scope in practice, and he wasn't seeing as many fish as were out there today. So let's start right there. Let me explain something to you guys. I want to tell you my experience from being on the water earlier this week, especially yesterday. Yesterday was a clear and obvious difference to me from what has been going on. There definitely seemed to be a lot of the fish that had been in on beds, like a lot of those beds were now empty. Those fish had disappeared. I don't know. They left. They're done. They're gone. Some are fry guard, some bail. I don't know. They're gone. But there was also a pretty big wave of new fish. But amongst that wave of new fish, I only saw one paired up with a female all day yesterday. The ones that were there that were new were very difficult to catch, much more difficult to catch than they have been recently. Now, yesterday morning was also 30-something degrees. It was like all-time record low for this time of year for around here. So that could have something to do with them not wanting to bite. But I personally think that we got just a little bit between waves with a cold front, which kind of made that new wave not as active. I think what you're going to see is this tournament might actually, for the entire field overall, maybe not for Patrick, but for the entire field overall, this event will actually get better the further into it we get. There's a lot of guys that are just hoping to survive the cut tomorrow and get to the weekend, because I think it's going to get better for the entire field overall, because we got a full moon coming. So females are going to start pulling into those pockets. And some of those females that have been in those pockets are going to pull out. So what you kind of have is a little bit of all three phases going on. But for the guys sight fishing, it's a little bit challenging right now, because I say challenging. There was guys sight fishing and catching 25 pounds today. Like, that happened. So it's not like it sucked. But Lake Fork, a 25-pound bag of bedfish is just males. Like, a good day of sight fishing on Lake Fork, you can catch 25 pounds on males alone without ever seeing a big female. You can. There's a plethora of 4, 5, 6 pound males on Lake Fork if you get after it and have a good day of sight fishing. So it could get stupid if, with the weekend weather, we could see a huge mega bag caught sight fishing at some point if we get a day where those females really lock in. I'm a little bit scared with the timing of being in between the waves and the full moon being right after this tournament is over, that some of those females might not lock on until right after this event ends. So we may not ever get to see that huge mega bag of sight fish. Here's what we do have, though. We've got Lee Livesey, we've got Brandon Cobb, we've got Zaldane, we've got Patrick Walters fishing for staging fish. That's what's happening. I think some of those fish that they're going to run into a little bit of an issue too, I believe. Some of those fish that they were catching today are going to be leaving them. But what could happen is, as those fish leave, some of those fish that have already spawned could make their way out to them, and they could get kind of replenished that way, where you got some going in and some coming out. So it's really a wide open tournament. It's really far from decided. I know the title says, can anybody beat Patrick Walters? We'll talk about that here in a minute. That has more to do with him than it does what's going on the lake. But it really is a wide open tournament right now, and anybody could still win it, because, man, even whether you're sight fishing and you get like a pocket where you get, like, if you roll into a pocket on Lake Fork when you're sight fishing, and all of a sudden that pocket just has a whole bunch of females lock on with males in that one pocket. That one pocket. I mean, guys, I've had a day where I've caught a 9-pounder, a 10-pounder, an 11-pounder in the same pocket in like an hour. Like, it can happen on this pond if those females. So that can happen bed fishing wise. But at the same time, on those staging fish, they could have those same fish pull up into those areas, and you don't know what's going to happen, man. Like, it's so wide open. And I know I'm sitting here rambling to say, I don't know. But I did know this. I mean, there was 2 patterns going into this deal. There was 3 patterns, but there was 2 patterns that I really thought would play. And if you watch the preview Monday, you heard me talk about it. The sight fishing was going to be prevalent. Most of the field was going to be sight fishing. And some of those guys were going to do staging fish. And that's exactly how it played out. And the guys that are doing the staging fish got the better of it today, because I think we're a little bit between waves. But they better keep doing that, or come this weekend, them sight fishing guys are going to catch them and eat their lunch. It's kind of how I see this playing out. They could hold out. The one thing about Patrick Walters, let's get on to Patrick Walters a little bit here. This cat is so good and so diverse, and he does something. He fishes the moment as good as anybody on earth right now. He went into today, he said it himself, he was planning on hitting some shallow shell bed points, hitting some staging fish, looking at live scope, throwing a glide bait and a jerk bait at them for like an hour. He was planning on doing that for an hour. He was convinced he was going to have to sight fish to win in this tournament. But he got out there, and he saw more fish out there on that. And even though he only caught 2, there were 2 really big ones right off the bat, so he stayed with it because he was seeing them out there. And he made the right call, and then caught that 8-14, and then went on to fill out a 32-pound limit. Totally scrapped his game plan for the day and caught 32 pounds to lead the tournament. That's not normal stuff. That's not every pro. I mean, make no mistake about it. Every one of these guys on this tour is better than me. They're better than anybody I know. These guys are the best. They're the best. The only guys they're not better than is, you can make an argument for the MLF roster. These are the best guys on earth. But most of those guys would not have been willing to completely scrap their game plan on day one and just go. And he did. And he made the right call. And the scary part about Patrick Walters now is he didn't burn through any of his bedfish today at all. None. Zero. Zero bedfish did he target today. So if the shallow staging point deal fades and doesn't work out, he still has a whole game plan of sight fish that are untouched. He can still go sight fishing. If this tournament becomes a sight fishing derby, he can go do that. He practiced for that, and that actually went better. So how is anybody going to beat Patrick Walters on Lake Fork? He just apparently has the karma on Fork, because obviously he created the biggest margin of victory in the history of the Elite Series just last November. Last time they were here, they come back 5 months later, and he's leading day one, and he didn't even go to his A game plan on day one, and he's leading. Like, how's anybody ever going to beat this kid? I don't know how he hasn't won every tournament this year so far. Like, it's insane, man. This guy is just, he's special, man. Watch Patrick Walters, study Patrick Walters, try to learn from him. I'm very honored that he's taken the time to talk to us on a podcast before. He's exchanged text messages with me a couple times. You know, it's an honor to get to. I'm really, really glad that I've gotten to talk to him the times I have. Patrick Walters is just, this is ridiculous. It's ridiculous. And I know I'm repeating myself, and I'm sorry. It's crazy. What happened to Keith Combs? Here's what happened to Keith Combs. Keith Combs will straight up tell you about 90% of the tournament fish that he's ever weighed in on Lake Fork came on a Chartreuse Blue 6XD, 8XD, 10XD. I don't think that's going to play very well this time of year. And Keith Combs is probably the best. I mean, I don't think it's even really a debate. Keith Combs is the best deep cranker on planet Earth that's fishing right now on the tour. Like, on any tour. He's the best deep crankbait fisherman that exists today. But if you look at any tournament that Keith Combs has won on the top level, they've all been involving a deep crankbait. When it's not a deep crankbait, Keith Combs doesn't really win. Doesn't really win. I see some of you guys asking about other guys. Do they have a chance? We will get to that here in a minute. Right now, let's talk about what we saw today as far as the baits they were using, what we're going to see going forward, and what I was surprised that we didn't see today as far as baits that they use. I can't talk about a jerkbait enough on Lake Fork. Like, I cannot praise a jerkbait enough on Lake Fork. I mean, literally, Bassmaster Elite Series 2019, Brandon Cobb in May wins it, predominantly throwing a jerkbait. Bassmaster Elite Series November of 2020, Patrick Walters win it, predominantly throwing a jerkbait. Today, Patrick Walters is leading day one, and I heard he was throwing a glide bait, but every time I saw him, he was throwing a jerkbait. This probably isn't the brand he's throwing. He doesn't even say the brand he's throwing, so I'm sure, I don't know what his brand is. This is a 6 Sense Provoke 106X. It's a great jerkbait. I catch the hell out of fish on Lake Fork on these jerkbaits. Apparently at Lake Fork, you just need to throw a jerkbait year-round. And we've talked about that some on the channel. I have become convinced. A couple years ago, I really wasn't a jerkbait thrower. It just once in the winter I would throw it. In the fall and winter I'd throw it a little bit, but it just wasn't something I felt great about throwing. Over the last couple years, I've become much more adamant about throwing a jerkbait, and it does stay out pretty much year-round for me. And on Lake Fork, I think it has to do with how much pressure these fish get. And for pressured fish, there's not much better than a jerkbait. With all that erratic, sudden start-stop action, it just makes fish that are pressured, it forces a reaction out of them. And then when they slap at it, you hook them with those 9 points of death you got hanging off there. We saw a lot of fish on jerkbaits get foul hooked today. We saw Brandon Cobb catch him on a jerk. We saw Lee Livesey catching him on a jerk this morning. Like, the jerkbait is a year-round player, and it's probably, overall one bait to throw year-round on Lake Fork. It probably ought to be a jerkbait for Lake Fork, honestly, at this point. There's just too much data supporting it. So, wasn't surprised at all to see the jerkbait. I knew we would see it on the shallow points the guys were going to fish. So, that didn't surprise me a bit. It doesn't surprise me that that's the main tool of some of the top guys, and especially the leader. Nobody ever threw a Carolina rig on any of those shallow points today. I feel like they're missing fish. That's something that surprised me. Nobody ever picked up that Carolina rig, like when they couldn't catch them on a jerkbait. Nobody ever reached out and grabbed the old ball and chain and slung it out there. And to me, that Carolina rig has been like, maybe it's because I fish with guide customers, and I don't know. It's just easier for guide customers to drag a Carolina rig. But, man, it seems like they're missing a lot of fish that aren't going to bite that jerkbait that would bite that slower presentation. And if they got a spot that's got some bigs on it that are feeding, man, it just seems like they're missing some bonus bites with that deal. Colton Deloach is saying Lee threw a little bit. I didn't see Lee throwing it. I will tell you, late in the day, I did not get to watch the coverage in the afternoon. But I'm sure Lee was throwing it. He knows as much about Lake Fork bass as anybody could ever hope to. So I'm sure he didn't miss it. But, I even heard Walter say something about, man, I could slow down, but I don't want to slow down. Well, the last fish he caught was at 10:30. Maybe you should have slowed down a little bit. I don't know. Who am I to correct Patrick Walters? But I don't know. It surprises me when I see those guys. We catch so many fish on a Carolina rig on those shallow points in my boat that it surprises me when those guys don't use it. And I get it. They're trying to fish fast. But I don't know. That one perplexes me. Maybe we will see it throughout the term. Maybe we won't. And maybe I'm completely off base and wrong. But that one catches me off guard a little bit. We didn't really see a lot of big swim bait action on the live coverage today. Now, I'm sure probably Zaldane was probably slinging it. At the end of the day, he had a great day. I was surprised to see Lee not throwing it. Lee Livesey is a swim bait throwing dude, man, all the time. I didn't see him throwing it, but we kind of talked about this in the preview. The issue with the big swim bait is, A, you got to commit to it to get bites on it. You got to throw it a lot. And B, even when you do commit to it, you're probably not going to catch enough bites over 4 days to win this tournament. And the only reason that is because of how many big swim baits these fish see on a daily basis from guides and guide customers and locals. And big swim baiting has just become such a popular thing on Lake Fork. These fish see a gazillion of them. So I was kind of surprised. I wasn't totally surprised that we didn't see it today, but I was kind of surprised that we didn't see more guys throwing it after they had a good bag. Like once Lee got to 25, I kind of thought maybe he just put a big swim bait in his hand and not put it down after that. But that's not, and he may have done some of that when I wasn't watching later in the coverage. But I saw him after he caught 25, and he wasn't doing that. So I don't know. That one surprised me a little bit. Bed fishing. Everything we said about bed fishing, of course, is right. We kind of got unlucky. Like I said, yesterday, Wednesday was the day where I noticed the females were gone. A lot of the fish that had been in there spawning were gone. And there was a lot of new fish in. A lot of new fish showed up that I hadn't been seeing. So the bed fishing, it was there, and it was the predominant pattern of most of the guys in the event. Even a lot of the guys that did well in their leaders are towards the top of the standings right now. But it's, like I said, it's going to get better. As far as baits on the bed fish, man, it is what it is. It's a short, compact creature bait on a Texas rig now. So I saw a couple guys throwing a white jig. I saw a lot of those guys throwing white, and I'm literally scratching my head going, golly, man, because I don't. Again, it's all opinions in fishing, and we all are entitled to be completely off base. Even the best of us at times are. Not that I'm near that, but they seem like they bite so much better on beds on fork when it's a natural, a watermelon something. They seem to bite that so much better than they do the white. And I see all these guys throwing white, and I'm like, man, why don't you guys throw like a watermelon red on that hole or something? Like, God dang, dude, it just, I don't know. That also, didn't surprise me, the baits they're using, but the colors, not that it surprises me because it's pretty predominant for people to throw white on beds. But I don't know. We'll see. Maybe that'll make a difference for one of these sight fishermen coming down the stretch. And that would be interesting to watch if it did. That'd be pretty cool. The deeper offshore stuff, timber stuff, didn't see a single soul doing it today. Not one. Nobody that was, up at the top. Nobody that was on live coverage. Didn't see anybody doing that. And that did surprise me too because, like I said, Jack York, when he's been here recently, I've seen where he's been fishing, and he's been fishing, some mid-depth and, deeper water than what everybody else is fishing. And he was going to catch some really good bags doing it. So I was a little bit surprised that we didn't see anybody fishing the deeper suspended fish in the timber. There's just not a lot out there, guys. I mean, there's just not very much out there. There's just not. So a lot, the fish, most of the fish in the lake are spawning or around beds. The second most amount of fish in the lake is on shallow staging points, and whatever's left over is out in the timber. And that's just what's happening right now. So that wasn't really too surprising. I thought maybe we'd see somebody, though. But here's something we didn't see a whole lot of either. We didn't see anybody go, or anybody that did well or was on live coverage, we didn't see them go way north and target the further along fish, the post-spawn fish that are more in a feeding or fry guarding type of mode. I'm really surprised we didn't see more of this. Like, anybody see them catch one on a frog today? You know what I mean? Like, they are biting a frog a little bit, and the ones that are biting it are good ones. So I was really kind of surprised we didn't see anybody go way north, run way up, north of board tree or north, or get way, pretty far back in Birch, or go up the east side and go past Glade, going up there into Running Creek and Oilwell Bay, Coffee Creek. Man, you can catch fish on a frog up there right now. I'm telling you can. I've been doing it. And catch some darn good ones. So, not sure why we didn't see any of this today. I didn't see anybody even trying it. I don't know. Lee snatching that one out of the tree. Epic. Yeah. Yeah, it was. He got that fish hung up in a tree and reached down there and pulled it off. That was good. He did a good job keeping us cool, not panicking. That would be hard in the Bassmaster Elite Series to get one hung up like that and not panic a little bit. It would be hard to not panic. And he did. He did a good job. Now, I'll tell you one thing I was thinking when I was watching that fish catch go down. I've seen like a video or something somebody posted of Lee when he was guiding full time where he just bailed off the boat and swam down underwater and unhooked the fish from a tree and brought the fish up and handed it to his customer. And I was thinking, Lee, you can't get in the water, right? Because in Bassmaster, I don't know. I think if you get out of the water laying to fish in Bassmaster, you're DQ'd. So the whole time I was doing it, I was going, dude, don't jump in the water. Don't jump in the water after this fish. Like, it's almost like I could see it in his head. He's like, I remember that time that I went in the water to go get this fish. But anyways, there's just something that's pretty funny. But no, he did a great job. Lee did a great job today. You know, it started out, he was catching numbers of smaller ones on that old jerk up there, and then he got a couple good bites, and then he moved on and got that big plug, that big square bill out on it. You know, everything he's fishing is some shallow shell bed points like we talked about, but you know, he knows the right ones, and he got his timing right today, and he got a good bag of fish. Off to a good start. That was good to see. Somebody asked earlier, does Brandon Cobb have a chance? Hell yeah, Brandon Cobb has a chance. Hell yeah, Brandon. Let me tell you something, too, about Brandon Cobb. And I know we talked about him a lot this year, but we'll continue to because, you know, he left us too soon. Mark Pack passed away earlier this year on January 9th, and we just had a memorial for him. I wasn't able to attend, but they just had a memorial for him April 18th, this Sunday, right before this event started. And something about Brandon Cobb, every time I see him, he's on a spot that Pac-Man used to fish. I don't know if they were old friends or something. I have no way of knowing, but he's always around a spot that old Pac used to fish. I'm just saying, like, he won in 2019 on this shallow point deal. He's fishing some of the same points he did then today. Does he have a chance to win? You daggum right. He definitely has a chance to win. He's got the good mojo, the good feelings here. He knows this shallow point pattern. They're biting a jerk bait a little bit for him, you know. So he's got all that going. B, I don't know if he knows it or not, but he's running Mark Pack stuff. And if he's running Mark Pack stuff, there ain't no telling what he's going to catch at one point in this tournament. So I just worry that shallow point deal for some of those guys is going to fade. And if they don't have a sight fishing plan to back it up, they're going to be in a bind come Saturday, Sunday. I think some of these fish with this full moon coming are going to abandon that, and I don't know if those post spawn fish are going to get out there fast enough for them to stay on it. I still think it's going to be one sight fishing in the end. I really do. But at this point, I'm a lot more open to. I was a lot more convinced of that yesterday than I am today. It wouldn't surprise me at this point to see somebody stay out on stage and stuff for all 4 days and win it at this point after the way today went down. That, you know what I mean? Like, that wouldn't totally shock me anymore. So. Man, what a day. What a freaking lake. How about Mercer giving me a shout out? Dave Mercer, I wasn't even watching. I wasn't even watching when this happened, unfortunately. I wish I was. But the MC, Dave Mercer, mentioned me on live coverage somehow. I don't even know what he said or whatever. I just know that he called me Billy Lawless. And I don't know if that was like a slip-up. I don't know if he doesn't really know my last name. I don't know if he's just giving me a nickname because Mercer's been prone to give guys nicknames. So it wouldn't be the worst fitting nickname anybody's ever gave me. I can tell you that. Like it's allegedly, you know, allegedly that might be applicable to me, old Billy Lawless. So yeah, either way, dude, I appreciate Dave so much for being friendly to me, and we've talked over the phone and had him on the podcast last week, and I was texting back and forth with him like all day yesterday and today about the tournament. Yeah, I really appreciate Dave kind of befriending me virtually the way he has, and really disappointed that he couldn't come down. He was supposed to be here live. Unfortunately, Dave got put through they've got these extensive COVID protocols for these guys that are traveling, and Dave, unfortunately, through unfortunate events, fell victim to falling into the COVID protocols, and so he wasn't able to come be at the event live. If he was, me and him have been talking. We had plans to hang out. So really disappointed that couldn't happen. But what a first day. Awesome. See what you guys have to say about it in the old comments. Hammers. It's weird during the coverage that Lee got out on the dock at Lake Fork Marina to look at spawners behind that. I didn't see him do that. I don't know what. I think the rule is if you get out of the boat to land a fish, then you're like DQ'd maybe. I don't know. Maybe it's a penalty. I don't know the exact ruling on it. But getting out to look at spawners, I don't know if that's against the rule or not. Be lawless. Apparently, y'all heard some of y'all heard that today. I see some lawless comments in the comments. Saw them on Fish Life spots, no doubt, man. Yeah, there was, you know, yes, there was. I hate to feel. Sometimes I get to talking about the subject, and I feel like I'm just being a little too braggadocious. But man, we do work really hard on that Fish Life app, and I work really hard, you know, at my craft and what I do, and I work really hard, and I try really hard to be extremely honest with all you guys about information, and the Fish Life app's no exception, man. It's real information. I work hard to make sure that you guys, when you subscribe to the Fish Life app, you have the very best, most current information possible. And yes, many of the guys leading the event were fishing in areas marked on the Fish Life app. Every time they're here, this happens. Every time they're here, this happens. So maybe some of them are using it, maybe they're not. I have no way of knowing. I'm not saying that they are. What I am saying is you got the best fishermen on earth. And the guys that are fishing the best, a lot of them are fishing in the same areas that we have marked on the app. So the information that we have marked on the app is literally, you could say, tour level quality information. But go check it out, man. Fish Life is spelled with a Y, L-Y-F-E. You can find it on App Store for Apple. You can find it at Google Play Store. You can find it at www.fishlife.net for a web app for all device types. Ray Roberts, what about Ray Roberts? We got a Fish Life app package on Ray Roberts. Classic in June. What did you learn most in the core that applies to bass fishing? Without a doubt, adapt and overcome. No doubt. I mean, that probably applies more to bass fishing than anything else I learned in the Marine Corps. Just because, I mean, bass fishing is all about adapting and overcoming. I mean, so just like Patrick Walters today, hey, them fish presented a different angle, and he adapted real quick, and he overcame his potentially flawed day one strategy and bailed on it, and now he's leading. I mean, things change so fast in this sport. They change real fast. So you got to be able to adapt and overcome. Semper Fi, always faithful, applies to fishing? Yeah, no doubt. Do I think the frog could be a game changer at some point during this tournament? I don't know. I don't think so. I'm just surprised we didn't see any of it, like none of it at all, because there is a frog bite happening right now, and so I was really surprised we didn't see any of it. But I don't think anybody's going to pick up a frog and all of a sudden run away with the event. No, nothing like that. Now it could take a guy that's not going to make the cut, and he's struggling for whatever reason, and then he picks the frog up and he gets, you know, a good finish. It could be that kind of game changer for somebody. But I mean, and I said this from the beginning, the tournament's going to be won either sight fishing or staging points. That's how it's going to be won. And I really thought heavily it was going to be sight fishing yesterday before day one, and now after day one, I still think it's probably going to be won sight fishing on the final days, but it could go the other way now after watching day one. And that's just me being wrong on my original prediction, which is often the case. A lot of folks in here tonight, man. I appreciate you guys joining us tonight. This is so awesome. There we go. Cody Mays said Lee called and asked permission to look at bedfish from the dock at Lake Fork Marina. And as they said, as long as he didn't cast to the fish or land the fish out of the boat, he's good. That's it. And that makes perfect sense. I agree with that rule. Do you think the majority of the fish are on beds or pre-spawn, and do you think there will be a bigger wave coming on the next full moon? Well, the next full moon's right at the end of this tournament. Yeah, I think the majority of the fish in the lake are spawning. I think the majority of the fish in the lake had like wrapping up spawning and starting spawning all at the same time. We're a little bit between waves, but not like so much so that you can't do it. So, no, yeah, the majority of the fish in the lake are spawning. They're around beds. Some just pulled off, some are just pulling in, but the majority of the fish in the lake are around beds. 100%, like, no doubt about it. Can I talk about the beef between Mercer and Duncan? Absolutely not. Doesn't concern me. I'm friends with both of them. Like, the only thing I'll say about the beef between Mercer and Duncan is I hope they figure it out and make up, because they're two good dudes. They're two good dudes that are very, very good at what they do with the podcasting and the hosting, and they're good people. They're good influences in the industry. Solid family men, both of them. So whatever their deal is, it's none of my business. The only thing that I'm going to say about it is that I hope they figure it out and make up, because they're both two good dudes from my experiences with them. And there's, to me, I really hope they can still, have a good friendship like they had before. That's all I care about. Other than that, I don't care about it. Well, JRL, I appreciate you saying that. It says, I'm a straight shooter, likes watching me. What's my guide website? Well, it's yourlakeforkguide.com. Man, everything about me you can find at Your Lake Fork Guide. If you Google search Your Lake Fork Guide, you can probably find anything on me you want to. Might even find some stuff you might not want to. I'm just, nope, ain't no promises around here, dog. Ain't no promises. Might be a little shade in you boys' past every once in a while, I'm just saying. Dave McNabb in the house. Oh, the Bass Champs cheaters. Yeah, everybody's talking about the Bass Champs. So, Bass Champs on Ray Roberts, like maybe last weekend or week before, I can't remember which weekend it was. There were some guys that caught a fish, and they're filming. I don't know if they were live streaming or they just posted the video without edit. Hopefully they posted this video without editing it out, because it just makes them even bigger idiots. But you're not allowed to cull dead fish in bass fishing tournaments. Well, these guys catch a good one, and you hear one guy kind of whisper to the other, hey, call the dead one. It's like, what? What'd you say? Call the dead one? You idiot. We lowballing, John Higginbotham. We always lowballing, man. This isn't one of our podcast episodes, but it's kind of similar to it. And it still is the lowest budget, actually, live YouTube, whatever thing you're going to find. It is. Because there's a phone and a charging cord and an idiot. And that's the budget. And we are actually live. So, bunch of lowballers up in here, dog. That's what y'all are. All y'all is a bunch of lowballers. We really got to get to work on the... As soon as I get my personal life a little more sorted out, we got to get to work on the lowballer t-shirts. For sure. I LOL Dusty Newton. I don't know what I did. Ain't no telling. Low budget greatness. Hey, I appreciate that. I mean, I don't know that I believe you, but I appreciate it. I do appreciate it. What else y'all want to talk about tonight, man? It's going to be awesome. What do y'all think is going to happen tomorrow with these storms? It looks like the heavy part of the storms might hold off until after weigh-in. Oh, who's coming to Lake Fork Marina tomorrow night for a free seminar at 6 p.m.? Is there anybody in the house that's going to be there tomorrow night at 6 p.m.? Is the weather moving in? Yeah, there's weather moving in. We got some, like, hard storms coming tomorrow evening. I don't think they're going to get rained out before they get the tournament day done, though. We need lowballing shirts and double-digit only shirts. I got it. Let's go. I love it. I love it. I love it. Yes. What's the water temp? Yesterday it was like 63, 65, something like that. Shad spawn on you? A little bit, man. There is some shad, like some for sure shad spawn, but it's like these little, it's not like big, massive shad spawn. Oh my God, it's on. There's herons lined up everywhere. Like Lee was fishing a shad spawn deal this morning. Y'all saw that if you watched the coverage early today, you can see where Lee Lobster was throwing back towards that bank on that shallow point. And there was birds lined up. The wind was blowing in there. There's birds lined up on that bank. That's shad spawn. Shad spawn. That's what it is. It's like little isolated flickers of shad spawn. It's not like when it's on for a shad spawn and the water's warmer and the shad are really spawning, the water's like boiling with shad. And the birds are feeding, and the bass are running through, busting them, scattering their shad, flying out of the water from the bass chasing them. When the shad spawn's really going down, you won't have to ask me if the shad spawn's going down when it goes down. Like even on that live coverage, you will see shad flying out of the water. That's not happening yet, but like the very beginnings of just a little bit of flicker and boiling of shad on the bank, that is starting to happen. The water is just still a little too cold. Them shad really like that water to be up around 70 or higher to really start spawning. And they're wanting to spawn because the daylight period is telling them it's time for them to spawn. But the water temps just aren't quite getting high enough to get a bunch of shad spawning. I just answered that question. I think I answered it right as you asked it, Matt Easterling, about what water temps. Yeah, when you hit that 70-degree mark, man, it's like when you get 70 and above, like a morning time tip around 70, those shad are spawning like nuts. So, Spike It Mustache Challenge. You want another Spike It Mustache? I don't want to do that again because we've done a Spike It Mustache Challenge twice, and I won both times, and I really don't want Spike It on my mustache, dog. Ryan Williams says, 12-hour drive for the seminar and Sunday weigh-in. Not the worst way to spend a weekend, but that's a long haul, brother. Blake Crutcher's in the house. It's all right. You late again. You can always watch it back from the beginning as soon as we're done, though. Dusty Newton says, his old lady signed off. You're leaving DFW for relocation to between Van and Canton June 1st. Dude, I live in Van. Like, you're going to be right down the street, dog. What's my guess for big fish of this tournament? Somebody's going to break 10. Somebody's going to have to break 10. Like, there's no way these guys fish for 4 days and somebody didn't break 10. And, I mean, the thing about Fork is literally mega bass. Like, you never know when it might be a 15 or a 13 or a 12 or an 11. But, I mean, we just had an 11. There was a 12 caught 2 days before. Like, on Tuesday, John Morris, an older fishing guy out there, he caught a 12-1 on Tuesday. So, I don't know. It'll be a double digit, though. They're gonna. I think they're gonna catch more than one double. I think there'll be at least 2 over 10 caught in this tournament. $35 plus 20-pound bags today. Is this the greatest performance by a lake in a tournament ever? No, it's not. The greatest performance by a lake in a tournament ever would have been the 2014 Toyota Texas Bass Classic before it was a Bassmaster event, when it was like half FLW. It's like the top FLW guys and the top bass guys, but they only had 45 guys in the field. But I think everybody, almost, if not every single angler in that field was over 20 pounds. They only fished for 3 days, and there was 2 guys over 100 and another one that was at 99 and change. So you had 3 guys at 100 pounds or heavier in 3 days. That means Patrick Walters, if Patrick Walters did what he did today for 3 days, he would have finished 4th in that tournament. Think about that, Jack. That would be the greatest lake performance ever. The other one that you could argue that was close to as good was Falcon Lake in 2008 when Paul Elias won. Everybody was over 20-pound bags in that tournament, too. It was just nuts. I don't know how many it was, but it was most of the field, I'm sure. When the shad are spawning in the back of coves up in the submerged grass, do you fish differently than you do on the shallow points? Hopefully that makes sense. Yes, you do. Yes, you do. I'll tell you what I love when the shad are spawning in grass, and I've busted their freaking heads around grass in shad spawn on Lake Fork like crazy. We made a video one day where we probably caught 30-something fish in the video, and we filmed the entire video in 45 minutes. On a shad spawn deal. Like, we set the power poles down and didn't move, and video was done in 45 minutes. A weedless swim bait on an underspin, like a weedless hollow belly on an underspin. A divine swim bait on an underspin, owner flashy swimmer, weedless underspin. In grass, to me, that flashy swimmer swim bait is the deal. Like, it's the deal in grass on a shad spawn. When they're on shallow points, man, you throw the treble hook top waters at them, you throw the jerk baits, you throw the big swim baits, you get a little bit off. Square bill. We saw Lee doing it today. Square bill is a very underrated tool for shallow point shad spawn. The clay point deal, shell bed point deal. Yeah, very underrated. What place is out of contention? What weight? After day one, what weight? Just because it's Lake Fork and the lake's fishing good enough. So the lake's fishing good enough, and it is Lake Fork. I don't see Patrick Walters catching 12 or 15 pounds one day. I don't see that happening. So realistically, if you're below 20 pounds right now, you're pretty much done. But because it's Lake Fork, if you caught 20 pounds, you might catch 40. Like, it can happen. Or 35. And you could be right back in it. And then you put another 30-pound bag after that, and then you might win it. So I think if you broke 20 today, I think you're good. I think if you didn't break 20, you're down over 13 pounds, 12, 13 pounds. I think it's too much. I think Patrick's too good. I think the guys behind him are too good. You're not going to catch all of them. But you never know on Lake Fork. You're going to need a big day tomorrow and some, kind of adverse weather to survive. So basically, even having said that, there's 35 guys that are well in contention right now. That's a lot. That's a lot. I mean, I'm saying that, and then, like, if you had 18, you'd probably be like, you could still do it, but you need a big day tomorrow. Those guys that caught less than 20 or caught right at 20, they need a big day. Like, they need close to 30 pounds tomorrow, if not more. Like, they better strap them on tomorrow. And it's going to be a tough day to do it tomorrow with that weather. A little bit of rain in the morning, softer rain in the morning, light rain. So the sight fishing guys are going to have a tough time tomorrow. It's really hard to sight fish in the rain, even if it's a light rain. Really difficult. It can be done, but it's tough. It makes it a lot tougher to see them. So, and it makes the fish, it seems like it makes them on Fork, it makes them a little spooky. Like, they get a little funky when it rains on them. I don't know if it's noise, I don't know. They just tend to get a little more spooky. But we'll see. Yeah, those guys, if they're trying to sight fish and they're below 20 pounds, they're going to have to punt tomorrow and figure something different out, I think. Ryan Williams says, I want to see Welcher do good. Man, I actually spoke to Welcher in the parking lot very briefly. Just met him. Just introduced myself to him. Hey, it's good to meet you, Colin, Billy Lawson, whatever. He said, man, it's kind of tough out there right now. And I just kind of looked at him. And he goes, well, I mean, if you want to catch like 7-pounders and stuff. And I just kind of looked at him. He kind of looked at me and said, I wish I could say something, but I can't tell you anything. He's like, I know. So apparently, in practice, he wasn't feeling good about catching bigger fish. And according to day one, he wasn't feeling very good about catching bigger fish. So I don't know if Kyle Welcher's going to get the ship righted, but I keep saying this, and I feel like it's stupid because I'm just like being a politician, not answering your question. But man, it is Lake Fork. Like, chaos can ensue at any moment out here. You just don't know for sure what's going to happen. Will G-Man ever win a tournament again? I think that's up to G-Man. I mean, that's totally up to G-Man. Gerald Swindle obviously has the goods. He's won multiple Anglers of the Year. I mean, he is, or will he ever win a tournament? Yeah, he's never won one. Has he ever won? Surely he's won one. I know he's won Angler of the Year. I know he's had a hard time getting victories, but he always has good finish. He used to always have good finish. He struggled last year, and he had a good day today, though. He had a good day today. So if G-Man wants to win one again, he's just going to have to do like he used to and go all in and sell all out. Like, he's going to be completely bought in on nothing but tournament fishing. And I think this happens to a lot of fishermen as they get older. We've heard Ike and Ellie talking about it a lot. You're seeing Kevin Van Dam trend down. It happens all the time, man. These guys go out and they start out like Patrick Walters is, like Jordan Lee, like Jacob Wheeler. And it's all they do. They're completely consumed with it. Every second of every day, they're only consumed with how to be a better tournament fisherman. In preparation and gear prep and update, and they're all in all the time, man. They're type A, 100% obsessed, consumed. And for us guys, for some of you guys, if you're in your 20s, you won't, even if you think you understand this, you really won't fully understand. I'm not knocking you. You just can't. There's no way to have the perspective when you're that young to understand it. But as you get older in life, other things come into play. Family stuff comes into play. You know, a lot of these guys marry a woman when they're young, and that woman supports their dream and ride or dies with them, and that's awesome to have a woman that'll do that with you. But at some point, that woman's going to start wanting a little more in return. And if you've got a great woman that stood by you through all this, you're going to want to give it to her. And it's like these guys, as they get older, it's not that they're any less good at fishing. They're just less consumed 100% of the time with it. Now, if G-Man wants to go back and go all in mentally, obviously he has the knowledge and ability to do it. He's proven that. But I don't know that he hasn't reached the point in his life where there's just, it's not that there's things that are more important than bass fishing, but there's things that are more important to him now than they used to be compared to bass fishing. That just seems, from an outsider's perspective looking in, that seems to be the natural evolution of bass fishermen. And dudes like KVD that hold on to it as long as they do, they're the different. Obviously, he's arguably the greatest tournament bass fisherman of all time as of now. I think there's a couple that might take that reign from him at some point. But right now, he's the greatest tournament bass fisherman we've ever seen. So, you know, that's up to G-Man. I mean, that's again, I'm giving you all these politically correct answers, but it's up to G-Man if he wants to win. He's got the ability. We know that. We know that with him. He's won Angler of the Year multiple times. Yeah, the business success is part of it too. The more successful you get, the more sponsored dollar. Listen, a big part of G-Man's business is social media and being a comedian and being fine. Like, that's a monetized business for him at this point. And that takes up a lot of his time and mental efforts as well. Yeah, sure does. That was a great point. Who said that? Chris Day. Great point. As you get bigger, sponsor obligations, things that pull you away from the water take up a lot more of your time, the more successful you get, 100%. I mean, I deal with that now as a guy, not that I'm anywhere near the level of success, but having some of the outside of on the water success, the Fish Life app, the social media content, it takes time away from me being able to focus on the fishing at times. It does. And it's a struggle. It's something that I really have to work on, time management, and be able to make sure that I'm getting enough time on the water to stay on fishing. At times, honestly, it's been something that I haven't done very well. I do the best I can all the time, but at times I've committed myself in too many directions and get pulled too many different ways, and I just can't keep up with everything. But I think any entrepreneur that wants to succeed is going to do that from time to time. Yeah, but then there is Rick Clunn. He came back and won some. Yeah, he did. He did. Rick Clunn's a different cat, Jack. And when Rick Clunn, I don't know that he's ever stopped only thinking about bass fishing. But there was a window there, right, with family and stuff, where he was getting that going, where he wasn't as good. There was. So, I actually got, it wasn't a mean argument, it was a friendly debate, just a we love the sport type argument with somebody down at Sam Rayburn back in the wintertime when I was down there in January. We got a discussion about Jacob Wheeler. We're talking about how he's the best in the world. Yeah, he probably is the best in the world. I said, but the sucker's married now. And maybe not, and you dads can back me up on this. When them kids are babies, like babies, yes, you love them. Yes, you want to see them. But, bro, as a dad, there's not a lot you're going to do with a baby. Like, when they start getting 4, 5, especially 7, 8, 9, 10 years old, all of a sudden as a dad, you're like, there's a lot of stuff I want to do with them now. And I want to make sure, time starts. And if you're a driven person, time starts getting away from you a little bit. And you start going, and I went through this. When those kids start to get a little bit older, you start going, oh man, hold up. I better stop what I'm doing over here. Slow this down. Just reprioritize and make sure I'm spending the right amount of time over here before these kids get grown on me. Because time does start slipping away from you when you're that busy. For me, it was like when my oldest son turned 9 years old, it slapped me right in the face and it went, he's halfway gone. Because 18 is when your kid leaves the house. So when my oldest son turned 9 years old, it like punched me right in the mouth and said, hey bro, that kid's halfway gone. And that was the day that I decided I needed to take steps immediately to start coaching his youth sports teams, to start being around him more, taking fishing more, just spend more time with him. And to be honest, I'm kind of ashamed of, from the time he was, pretty young, and when he was really young, I spent a lot of time with him. But from the time he was, probably started school, 4 or 5 years old, talking about 5 years old until he was 9, like during that period, I didn't do the best job of spending as much time as I should as a dad. Now, I wasn't doing anything wrong. All I was doing was working, but I worked at such an excessive rate to start my business and try to build it that I did kind of neglect him and my family during those few years. But when he turned 9, it punched me right in the mouth, and I had to change, and I did. I changed it quickly, and I adjusted, and I'm grateful that I did. Really, really grateful that I did. So. Timmy says, when those diapers are green and yellow, it's easy to say, honey, I got to go make that paycheck. Yeah. It's a lot easier to walk away there when they're like the oldest one now, he just turned 11, and the youngest one's 8. Now it's a lot of fun. Like, it's tons of fun being around them now. Somebody says, keep working the social media, though, man. You've been keeping us in the game. I will, man. I absolutely will. And I've fallen off a little bit over the last year and a half. And it was a lot of very, very personal and stuff that I just don't. I like to let you guys in on everything. I like to let you in my life a little bit. But, man, there's some stuff there that's been really, 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 really tough in my personal life that I really don't want to go into details on, and I appreciate y'all respecting me on that. But all I can tell you is there's been moments over the last year and a half or so where I have fallen off on the content production at times. I tried this year to never totally quit it, but I have had to slow down a couple times. And just here the last couple of weeks, I've had to slow down some on the content that I put out. And all I can tell you is it's killed me to do that, but the things that are going on are so much bigger. That I just have to dedicate some time to them. So it's I do want to get back to it is a priority for me to make sure that the content keeps coming out, because you guys do seem, the ones that watch seem to really enjoy it. I don't have the biggest following, but I do have probably the best in my opinion. Like, you guys really seem to enjoy it. Y'all are really loyal. Y'all watch everything we do. Y'all participate in everything. When we try to raise money for a cause, all you guys participate in it. Like, it's so appreciated. Like, so appreciated. I'm so grateful that I do get to now have a secure enough business that I can coach my kids' soccer team and schedule that time off. And yet I still, when I do go to work, I'm filming content, or I'm talking about fishing, or I'm actually fishing, or I'm taking customers out. Like, I'm doing what I love to do. It's because of y'all's loyalty to the content and stuff. So yeah, of course, like, that ain't changing. That ain't changing anytime soon. The content will keep coming, and hopefully, soon enough, I'll get all this craziness in my personal life behind me, and we'll just move on with a lot of positivity and fun, and we'll get the kids on here a little more. We'll cut up. We'll have a good time. We'll start doing some of that stuff once we get all this stuff settled in. So y'all just bear with me. I'm going to do the best I can getting through it, and once we're through it, boom, let's go. Man, I'll tell y'all what, it's getting awful late. And I got to get the kids to school in the morning. Then I got to go to Lake Fork and try not to drown while I'm making y'all some content for next week. Speaking of that, so I'm going to try to film some on the water stuff while these guys are fishing, and some weigh-in stuff if I can get away with it. And then, of course, we got a seminar tomorrow evening at 6 p.m. We can talk more Bassmasters there. I'm going to try to do live streams every day if I can. I don't know if I'll get to do one tomorrow night. It's going to depend on how everything plays out. But I would love to do one tomorrow. It may only be a quick one. I don't know when it'll be for sure. But we will be at Lake Fork Marina live in person tomorrow at 6 p.m. Come join us. We'll have a good time. We'll yuck it up some more. I'm excited to see how these best in the world anglers are going to deal with the adverse conditions tomorrow with some of this weather pulling through. Hopefully it won't affect them too much. Either way, I'm sure Lake Fork will do Lake Fork things, and we'll all be oohing and ahhing by the end of the day. So thanks once again for you guys joining us tonight, man. We will see y'all next time right here on your Lake Fork Guide.